Yeah, I think it's specific similarities in terms of the structure of how they operate as businesses, but in other ways, as you said, extremely different. Um, and I think when you do look across all sectors, for example, you mentioned about indirects and the way that companies have to manage their kind of just company running expenses and things like that. Um, yeah, typically I think the processes are quite similar, but when it gets into the more complex areas of indirect, then obviously there's vastly different things. The nuances of what people are buying is very different. Um, but one of the things that I thought would be interesting to talk about is just the kind of tech requirements when it comes to coming into a situation, evaluating the situation, and looking at that transformation journey, because it strikes me that the needs of an organisation on the tech side are potentially going to differ on where it regards to indirect versus direct, depending on where they sit, what type of industry they're in, how direct heavy they are, how services heavy they are, that sort of thing. So, what do you see as the kind of the benchmark for the solving of those technical needs from an indirect point of view versus a direct point of view?
Oh God, everything. Well, everything has to start with the process. I mean, that's the thing that fundamentally I find sits underneath all of this. Everything that I've seen at BT, everything that I've seen at Maersk, everything that I talk to colleagues in different companies about, it's the problem is never the technology. The problem is never what you're buying. The problem is always comes down to the process and what's been inherited and what exists there. And nobody, well, in the procurement organisations, there's always, in any large company, there's a continual reorganisation, which is absolutely fine and to be expected. So there's always tweaking. People join, people leave, new leaders come in, and so there's always an operational reorganisation at some degree and some level.
Do you think that's just inherent in the nature of larger organisations?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, times move quickly; they really do. And I've been in Maersk for 7 months, and I've been reorganised once in 7 months. That's to stay more attuned to the needs of the business. And so business moves fast, you need to stay attuned to it. And so you reorganise the people and move the people. But what you find is that the underlying process that is supporting the function evolves. There's a lot of focus put on how can we digitally transform, what tool do we need to put in to solve this particular problem, or how do we need to restructure our teams to more effectively reflect something else. But process is massive. If we're digitizing something, well, we're digitizing a process, so you have to fix the process. That's the bit that tends to evolve, and it's almost like stories being passed around around a campfire from one generation to the next. These processes kind of evolve from one generation to the next, and sometimes end up strange and odd and in no way efficient. And if you try to deploy a tech solution on a broken process, then it fails and you're in a world of pain straight away. So it's that process side of it needs to be looked at and considered. But even more than that, when I really get into it and I really drill into what's needed, you find that digital capabilities can be deployed and bought off the shelf, or designed and built yourself, but you can develop a digital capability that will solve a process problem. But those digital capabilities need to be kind of wrapped into some larger functional capability. And so, it's where you start breaking things down and saying, where does the human interact? What does the human do? What are the employees of the company really bringing? They're bringing the brain and the intelligence. And so whatever digital capability we deploy in whichever category, whether it's directs, whether it's indirects, they need to be fixing, they need to be applied to a process which is fixed and correct. But we always need to consider what's the functional wrap that sits around that. We can automate massively in the execution world, which we know. So if you're executing in rates that we just spoke of, you can do that. In the P2P world, where it's super transactional, you can seamlessly start to automate there. But the procurement people, are my direct customers, if you like. We're trying to free up their brain power. Is fundamentally what we're trying to do. And it used to be a case of let's deploy Excel and PowerPoint to free up some time. Now we're saying, get rid of Excel, get rid of PowerPoint to free up time. How can we automate insights and intelligence and just free up more time? And it really is all about freeing up more time, freeing up the brain power, is the critical element.